Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to ask you, as a member of the European Parliament, how you feel about being sort of 1,000 kilometers away from Catalonia at a time where everything is on the boil here.
Well, in fact, it gives you a better perspective, I would say, and sometimes it provokes an amazing result. I come here, back from Brussels, and I come in an optimistic way. I see things clearly, and sometimes I meet here people a bit disappointed, a bit sad. I don't understand that, because if you look this in European level, so to speak, I would say that things are much better than we would have thought some months ago.
And yet the state and the PP government have the capacity to make people doubt and to make people depressed, don't they?
Yeah, they have that. And in fact, in the European Parliament, I think that we are 54 Spanish MEPs. From them, perhaps, 45 or more than that are either PP people or socialist people, and they are very much against us, even against the MEPs who are in favor, personally I mean, against MEPs who are in favor of independence. That was at the very beginning extremely annoying. They wrote some messages. Now they're finished, which I think is good news, because they notice it's useless. We are working there in a very friendly way with everybody. We have perhaps small, but some prestige. We are good MEPs, so that Catalonia is well represented there. And they stopped with injuries and with aggressions. They stopped.
Right. How do you see the coming months as a member of the European Parliament, but also as a close observer of the Catalan reality? How do you see the coming months? Everybody's talking about immense pressure and great tension. How do you see it?
Yeah. My impression is really that I can express it in a British word, in an English word, which is, I think, very nice. Spain is brittle.
Brittle.
Spain is, I think that it's brittle. It looks strong, but it's breakable. And I hope very much that they are using the resources they have, but they don't have more. Just justice, well, okay. Just decrees and then decisions of the government and even the media. But I don't think they can do much more. So that I hope very much that at the very end, everything will run much easier than we think. Right. Much easier.
You mentioned the use of the justice system to put the Catalan process under pressure. How is that observed from Europe? I mean, your fellow members of the European Parliament, how do they get to perceive this? Or?
Well, absolutely, and they are astonished because they don't understand many things that happen in Spain. Though Spain has an advantage, namely, it's a big country. It's a former imperial country, and now without Great Britain, it's the fourth biggest country in the European Union after Germany, Italy, France, etc. That gives Spain some kind of magnitude, so to speak, but it's the only big country which has been openly criticized in many committees of the European Parliament. We have openly criticized the interior measures in order to prevent demonstrations or many months ago when they tried to prohibit or almost so abortion, or when there are measures against language, or when they tried to put into jail or to bring to justice the president of the parliament. This has been openly criticized. I don't think in the European Parliament anyone would be capable of criticizing measures coming from the German government, from the French government, from the Italian government. They are much more respected than the Spanish one.
Would you say that these criticisms that have been occurring might have any consequences? A lot of observers here, a lot of Catalan public opinion sees Europe as being a sort of not a very strong ally in any sense to the process. Do you think that some of these observations, some of these criticisms might have any more serious consequences for Spain?
Yeah, that's something important for the future, not for the present. I mean, Europe is an extremely practical and conservative group of institutions. So that when we had the referendum in Edinburgh, in Scotland, 1 or 2 years ago now, I was there invited by the SNP, and no one in Brussels was talking about the referendum the same day. Why not? Because if you take sides, then you are risking a lot. So they don't risk anything at all. After facts, they are brave, fantastic, clear people. So I do think that the present silence of the European institutions is good news, very good news. They are treating us as they treat important things, silence, keep silence. And not the 1st of October, but the 2nd of October, they will speak. And they will speak in a different tone because they know what has been the tragic, the bad development of Spanish politics up to now. Mm-hmm. I think that's important for the future. Mm-hmm.
And yet, some Spanish politicians and even politicians in Catalonia that represent the Spanish cause in some way, like Iceta or so on, constantly harp on the fact that Europe is against the Catalan, the United Nations is against the Catalan question. What would you say to...
It's absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. The other day, Juncker, that's an example. Well, I am president of my group in the European Parliament and vice president of the bigger group, Greens, European Free Alliance. And we invited Juncker to come to our group. And then with my colleague Jordi Soler, who is on the same list as I am, we decided that he would put a question because I was next to Juncker and it was not proper that I put the question. So he would put the question. And he asked, what do you think about Catalonia, Mr. Juncker? And he's a very clever man, Juncker. I don't vote him, but he's very clever. And he said, well, I'm afraid I'm not going to answer the question because Twitter is terrible. And you will tweet immediately my responses, so I'm not going to do that. But you know that I have sympathy, etc., etc. And at the end of the meeting, Jordi Soler and I approached personally Juncker and said, well, but what do you think? And he said, you know how much I appreciate your question and your position. That's it. That's something which is not said just as a compliment. No, it's true. They appreciate very much the way we are doing things. Because the extraordinary point is that the European Union cannot accept as new members just those who have won a war. They have to accept people who have done it in peaceful ways. Of course, on the contrary, this would be a silly institution. So I have great confidence that they are understanding us more and more, day by day, and that this will have a very nice final result.
You've mentioned the Partido Popular, the Popular Party. You've mentioned the Socialists. What about the Podemos contingent in the Parliament? What are your relations like? What is their position about the Catalan issue?
No. Yeah. Podemos changed a lot from the beginning to now. It's 3 years ago, because they, when they started, the European Parliament was the first official position they got in politics. They were unknown, completely unknown. So we had there Pablo Iglesias, Pablo Echenique, the best names of Podemos. And at that time I have to say that some of them, especially Pablo Iglesias, had a very media oriented position. So they didn't talk to us. They always talked to the media and to Madrid, even if they were in Brussels. So it was difficult to come along with them, though we had a good relationship. Now we have just normal people in Podemos, not the first ones, and they are quite sympathetic, I would say. At the very beginning, they thought that someone like me, coming from Esquerra Republicana, that probably I was too rightist for them. Now they see that I am on the left side, and probably more left than they are. So that they call me always to go to press conferences, to go with them, to defend some good things, and they defend our position, not independence, but they defend that we can vote, because that's what no one in the European Parliament understands, that we cannot vote. They ask me, how do you decide, how do you solve your problems? Fighting, just fighting. It's with vote if you are, a tolerant, a sensible, a civilized society. How do you do that? So even if the European Parliament wouldn't vote, that's my opinion, in favor of independence, if they had to vote, they don't have to vote. We have to vote on that. Nevertheless, on the point of deciding, on the point of voting, they are all of them with us. You have to vote. You have the right to vote. And now I see that they are not very much interested whether the voting is legal or illegal. According to the Spanish way of speaking, they
voting makes the vote legal.
Of course, and they meet me and they say, "Oh, the 1st of October, you have a referendum." Yes, we have. That's it, because that's
known about.
It's absolutely no. And I hope that not now in August, because August is a bad month. I mean, everything is closed. But in September, this will be one of the items. As Publico, the important media in Brussels has said, it will be one of the main and the most important points till the end of the year. The vote. The votation and the referendum in Catalonia. Yeah.
I'd like to change slightly, and I'd like you to talk about the three political parties that give support to the referendum. The present PDeCAT, Esquerra Republicana, and the CUP. How do you see, from Europe, how do you see, people are always talking about a crisis, and yet their alliance seems to be rock hard.
Absolutely.
Over the years.
There is no problem at all. Probably because you are few members, and we need each other. That helps also. But the relationship between Convergencia, PDeCAT, and Esquerra Republicana is totally tight, is firm, and we don't have representatives of CUP. but we always co-sign things, we take decisions together, we protest together, we organize things. Now, the 7th of September, we will organize a meeting where the film and on the interior, how is that? Las cloacas, the interior will be shown in the presence with Jordi Cuixart coming from Omnium and Roders, who is the manager or the producer of the film. So, and this is always organized with consents altogether.
Great. Let's see, I think we have to be finishing now because we don't have too much time, but how do you see the months that are coming up? How will you direct your work and your message over the coming months?
Well, in fact, we have to finish our message of goodwill in the Parliament, but I imagine that September will be a month where... hectic, and we will not be very much there. Probably we will have to be here to help, because I am ready to go everywhere to talk to everyone, because it's important that people understand that this referendum is such a crucial thing, is to decide something which I expressed 2 days ago, no, not 2 days ago, 2 weeks ago, to a colleague coming from Austria. She asked me what I thought about that, and I said, well, look, I will quote a German philosopher, Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant says, has a very beautiful, very short pamphlet called What is Illustration? It's enlightenment. What's enlightenment? And then he answers, enlightenment is the outcome of people from the situation of inferiority to which it has been condemned. So we don't want to be inferior. We want to be dependent of others. We have to. Enlightenment means we are mature enough to take our affairs into our hands. That's what's deciding the people in Catalonia on the 1st of October. And I think that's an extremely important point. If we understand that, economic things, cultural things, sportive matters, etc., will come together. The point is that we have the right to decide on our own. That's the point.
Just one last question. You were the most voted candidate at the European elections in Catalonia. The PP and those opposed to the Catalan process always say that Catalonia would be expelled from the Union if we were to take our own way. How would you answer to this threat?
They don't know what they say. It's impossible. It's impossible. The European Constitution doesn't allow to expel anyone. What you can do is to leave the Union. That's Brexit. But no one can expel you if you are in. So, first, cannot. And the Spanish Constitution cannot expel anyone. So, first of all, we are in the European Union and in Spain. If we achieve independence, so if we decide to become independent, then there are two questions. What's the reaction of Spain? What does Spain say? That's a matter for Spain. And the second point is a matter for Europe, because we are members of Europe, we are citizens of Europe, and they will feel obliged to find some way to
Activate
reactivate and to find the new situation, a quick new situation for Catalonia. So I'm not scared at all.
No. And it would be difficult to find an area of Europe with such a pro-European attitude.
Exactly, and you cannot forget that it's important for Europe to preserve the stability in South Europe, and that's 7.5 million people. Sometimes my friend Luis thinks that we are a small country. I say always, Luis, we are not that small. Start at the very north of Europe and you will see Finland, Denmark, Sweden, all of them are smaller than we are, and they are excellent countries. So we would be a beautiful, excellent, active, productive, peaceful country in Europe. Contributive country. Yeah. And this in South Europe, where in other countries there are a lot of problems. So my guess is that the European Union will celebrate. They cannot say that, but they will celebrate to have someone as an ally, a reliable ally in the south of Europe, as Catalonia. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking.